All right, we'll ready to call this meeting to order. And for our regular council meeting, and I'll ask our clerk to do roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Klopp,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Becker,
Present.
Councillor Bailey,
Present.
Councillor Groot,
Present.
Councillor Harris,
Present.
Councillor Lamport,
Present.
Councillor Walden,
Present.
and I have regrets from Councillor Hessel and Councillor Whetstone.
Okay, thank you. We do have quorum though. At this time, disclosure of pecuniary interest for this meeting or previous if missed. Seeing none, approval of agenda as printed. Is there anybody wishes to add anything? Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Walden, Deputy Mayor, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now at 4.1 delegation and presentations, and it's 4.1, the 2025 Firefighter Service Recognition Awards. I will ask the fire chief to proceed to start this process.
Thank you, Your Worship. Members of council, good evening. It's with great pleasure that I stand before you to present to you guys the 2025 Long Service Awards. We have pretty near 200 years of service being presented tonight. I'd like to also mention that even though these guys are getting long service awards, all the officers here tonight just recently finished a incident safety officer course, 40 hours of in class with a test or exam. So their dedication is still going strong today, even though they are getting long service awards. So I'm going to start off with the longest serving. This gentleman started long before amalgamation and is still serving today, and captain of the Zurich station, Dan Turkheim. Sorry, 45 years. Perfect. The second award given out tonight is for 35 years service, and that belongs to Station Chief of the Bayfield Station, Brian Brandon.
Perfect.
Third service award tonight, 30 years of service. Now Station Chief of our Zurich Station, Marty Murner. Next award, 30 years of service, Dale Miller. Right from our Zurich Station. Also receiving 30 years of service award from our Bayfield Station, Ian Sertsima. And last but not least, Deputy District Chief Wade Berard receiving 25 years service. That presents, but I believe they all deserve a gratitude from our council and the members of our constituency for the dedication that they provided for us throughout the years. So round of applause, please.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, on behalf of council, your dedication over the years of, for a lot of us, we get to see you in many different hats. But the fact that whenever there's been a call, all of you that I saw today have been out and made sure that our community was safe, and that goes a long way. The fact today, for those, maybe some of us here don't realize, but everyone standing at the back are firefighters from our detachments, and the fact that they came out this evening to help, and also spouses who we have to remember really are the ones that really help out, and we do appreciate that support. I'm sorry I didn't hear his voice, so I assumed he wasn't here, but I see that Pip Murner's here this evening. That's Marty's father, and he has not only his son, but grandsons that are also following the tradition of firefighting. And that's, I think, needs to be stated, and I'd like, as one humble farm boy, I think that's pretty cool that we have that kind of commitment from people like yourselves, because out in the country, we really do rely on firefighters when they're needed. Thank you very much and appreciate it. And council, again, one more applause would not hurt.
Sorry, just quick. Sorry, guys, I won't make it long. But to live in the little village of Varna and to know that you people are around and you know what's going on, and you get there quickly and you care is service beyond anything people could ask for. And sometimes I hear some criticism and I sure as heck try to shut it down because I really appreciate what you do. Thanks.
So our deputy has a few comments too, I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Big thank you to the wives, the girlfriends, the partners that support the firemen to go out and do their job. That's the most important part, to come home safe to them. And thank you for looking after the guys when they go out the door. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Any other counselors? Okay, you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting, but I can appreciate if you have other things that you need to do, like go home and hopefully not have to go out tonight. Again, thank you all for coming this evening. Appreciate it. We'll now move to 4.2, Blue Haven Beach Cottage Association. John and Harold, are you here? Could you please come up to the mic and introduce yourselves? We'll allow a couple seconds for them to leave. Yeah. Yes. You thought you had backing. If some of you want to take pictures back there, please go ahead. Don't worry about us. We'll start the meeting. There's a whole family of the Murners. It's pretty cool. The one that just waved, he, think you can start now, but I appreciate allowing them to leave. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is John DiSebastiano. Excuse me, I've been battling a cold for most of the winter. I'm John DiSebastiano. I'm the president of the Blue Haven Beach Cottagers Association. With me this evening is Harold Hugill, and Harold is the vice president of the Blue Haven Beach Cottagers Association. Again, thank you. We really do appreciate the opportunity to address this issue this evening. You may not have had a chance to read the documents we submitted ahead of time, but in case you didn't, very clearly, we are not here to ask for money. We are not here to ask for new bylaws, amendments to bylaws, for you to take on any new responsibility. We're here for a policy alignment. We'd like to work collaboratively with you on an issue that is of utmost importance to us for liability and safety concerns. I'm going to turn over to Harold at this point to talk about what our ask is.
Yeah, thanks, John. So again, appreciate everyone's time tonight and giving us the opportunity to speak here. So our core ask, what we're looking for is just simple, practical. We're looking for permission to install clear signage that will accurately reflect the ownership of the road. So the roads we're talking about, there's three that are in question, right? It's Blue Haven Road, so that's a main road coming off Highway 21. There's Blue Haven Beach Road, that's the the cross north-south road that all connects all the cottages together. And then there's our private beach access ramp, which isn't for vehicles, but does get confused at times, right? And therefore, that's one of the asks for the signage, right? So all of these roads are privately owned and maintained by the association. We did lean on Ross Firm, the law firm from Goderich, to just to assure us that, you know, the roads were privately owned and there's no prescriptive easement rights. There's no registered right of ways from our roads or ramp to any third party association. So although, you know, we've determined that, there still is risks that we come across quite frequently, unfortunately, due to people accessing the roads, using them not appropriately, and therefore increasing unnecessary risk to not only them, but the members of our association as well. So.
Okay. So the ask, again, just to recap, we want to put up signs that clearly identify the road as private without beach access. And we want to maintain our eligibility for the gracious funding you provide us to maintain our roads. As it is right now, if we were to put up the signs, we lose the supplemental funding you provide to maintain the road. So we're just looking to put up some signs that says private, no beach access, and maintain the funding. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons why. Because there's this misunderstanding of who owns the road, the usage of the roads, access to the beach, we have had in this past summer alone at least 4 instances where people drive down our road, down the ramp, trying to get onto the beach. And that ramp down to the beach is not designed for vehicular traffic. And they can encounter, pedestrians, families with strollers, children, dogs, you name it. We've had a number of close calls this past summer. We had 2 cars nearly drive into the ravine because they think it's a public access. It is not. It is private. It is owned by the Blue Haven Beach Cottagers Association collectively. So that creates quite a safety risk in doing that. The other problem we have, of course, is the ongoing issues we have with the farmers who use our road, Blue Haven Beach Road, from Highway 21 to Blue Haven Beach Drive. They do not have the right of way. They do not have easements. They have no prescriptive easements. As Harold said, this was confirmed to us by the Ross firm in Goderich. And every year we have to contend with the farmers using the road, tearing it up, etc. And it requires a great process of education. I'll turn it over to Harold to talk more about the agricultural issues.
Yeah, thanks, John. So as John mentioned, every year, you know, we've got a farm on the north side of Blue Haven Road, a farm on the south side, and each of those farmers are using our road to access their fields, bringing heavy equipment, it's a rural area, so yeah, everyone's well aware, you know, we've got large tractors, combines, big trucks, et cetera, that are coming into the field. You know, with that heavy traffic, it certainly does create a fair bit of wear and tear on our road that we, you know, are responsible for maintaining. In the past, like historically, we've allowed this just to be good neighbors, right? Again, there's no legal right, but we've allowed them to use the road just to be good neighbors. But however, under the current policy framework, you know, if again, we're here representing the association, it's us included, but if, you know, if we're forced to choose between clear, truthful signage for safety or the continued participation in the road grant program, you know, we may be compelled to withdraw from the program, and by doing that, force the farm machinery back onto Highway 21 to look for their own access routes. Not something we want to do, right? But, you know, if the association takes this information and makes a decision, that could be something that they're compelled to do. By forcing the equipment onto Highway 21 off our road, it creates a whole variety of other safety issues, right? We've got heavy machinery accessing 2 points off of Highway 21, and those 2 points currently don't exist either, right? So that's going to require the farmers to go through the permitting process. There's a cost to, you know, I'm assuming the municipality, the farmers, for the permitting, the construction. There's going to be engineering reviews, right? So significant amount of work and cost on everyone else's part, right? When, to John's point earlier, all we want to do is put up signage on our road that says private property. So yeah, anyway, I'll pass it over.
So the purpose of the signs is multifold. One is to eliminate the confusion that currently exists about the usage of the road, to prevent people from trying to access the beach ramp, which is a safety concern. The issue with the farmers is, up until now, there's been no question of prescriptive easements. There are none. But should the ongoing usage of the road occur without signage over a period of time, 10, 20, 30 years, there could be an argument made by Janock or Stuckley, north or south, about prescriptive easements. Today, not so much of a problem, but going up and down Highway 21, we've seen all the development, correct? What if one of those farmers' fields is sold? What if developers buy that field and then want to build 50, 100 houses? And they think potentially they have access to Blue Haven Beach Road, which they do not. The lack of clarity is problematic to us and our association. We cannot have 50, 60, 100 houses accessing that road down the road. The way to prevent that is clear signage today, which, as Harold said, is just pointing out the obvious. We own it. It's a private road, right? We're not asking anything else. And we don't want to lose our funding as a consequence of putting those signs up. And I want to reiterate the point Harold made. And please don't get us wrong. It's certainly not a threat. However, if I go back to our association and say, it's the signs or the money, our association may say, we'll do the signs. And now we're going to be less $8,000 that we got from the municipality. Are we still then going to tolerate heavy farm equipment on that road? I think not. In which case I will go to Mr. Janock, Mr. Stuckley, who I know quite well, and we talk to them all the time. And they will come to you applying for a permit to get access to their farm fields from Highway 21. That, we believe, will be more costly than simply allowing us to keep the funding we get. So we're not asking for anything more. But if we don't put up the signs, there could be cost to the municipality of access. Then it's not just a question of cost. What about safety concerns? What about liability risks if farm equipment is going to those farmers' fields from Highway 21 directly? Okay. The next slide, please, Jody. So our position is that our request for a sign that says, or signage that says private, no beach access, is a modest and practical solution that allow private owners to clearly state private ownership and safety conditions through appropriate signage. The benefits are shared, right? Improved public safety. It reduces misuse and liability exposure. continued informal accommodation of agricultural equipment, informal accommodation, avoidance of future planning, engineering, and enforcement issues. We believe this is about addressing risk early and not reacting later when problems are harder or more expensive to solve. What we're not asking for.
So as John's mentioned a few times, we're certainly not asking for more money. We're not asking for any type of enforcement from the municipality, right? We're not looking for you to assume the roads or the ramps, and definitely not looking for you to mediate, private disputes, whether it's between the farmers and us or people using the roads unlawfully, right? So yeah, just want to make sure we're clear on that. We're not looking for more money, not asking for special bylaws, anything like that, any change to any of the requirements currently in place. So
Final point is we also have a duty of care under provincial legislation, right? Since we own the road, we are expected to maintain to a certain standard, to alert people to hazards, to alert them to hazards they can avoid. What is the simple and easiest way to alert the public to avoid hazards? Signage. It's that simple. But today we have to make a choice between signage and funding. So first of all, we appreciate the funding. If we haven't said that, we appreciate it very much. We didn't always have it. So thank you for that. But we don't want to be forced to choose between the two. We think they can both coexist. We're just looking for that alignment of what our responsibility is through provincial legislation and what our obligations are through the municipality. So our final point, next steps. We'd like your approval. We'd like to work collaboratively with municipality to come up with mutually acceptable signage that we can put on our road. Thank you for your time, and we'd be delighted to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Okay, thank you. I will open it up to a few comments or questions. And then we'll see where it goes from here, okay?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Lamport is in your backyard, I believe, I'll ask you first.
Great, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. Do you know when the agreement came into place? What the existing agreement right now? That is,
Which agreement is that?
meaning that we are providing, we're paying for the grant, because that would have had to have been an agreement to do that.
It's an excellent question. Not to bore you with a story, but on Sunday night, I was having dinner with my mother-in-law, and she was a previous president of the Blue Haven Beach Cottagers Association. I said, hey, you know where I'm going to be on Monday night? She goes, well, I remember years ago when we didn't get the funding, and it was the BSRA that met with the council to request funding for the private roads because the private roads weren't getting them. And they convinced the municipality to provide the funding. That's got to be more than 10 years ago, easily. Specifically when, Greg, I apologize, I don't know.
Is Maggie McBride on? So you're basically saying it's been in since the beginning of the program when it was installed. Blue Haven, to your sense is that they've been collecting ever since, correct?
No, I don't think so. I'd have to go back and check our records. Our current treasurer, James Brown, was, I believe, the first treasurer that started actually applying for and receiving funding from the program. And the program has existed for some time, but I don't think we've been receiving funds since the very beginning.
Yeah, it started about 2003.
Yeah, we certainly have not been in it since then.
So, yeah. Okay, well, we can maybe find that out, but it's been a long time since you probably had it. Okay, Councillor, go ahead. Any further?
Sure, just to follow up, and more of a statement, but then I'll finish off with a question. So just with that, and it makes total sense. So the BSRA said, hey, can we get granting for private roads? And if we do, how can we do this? And the municipality says it's possible. However, you can't show it a private road. It has to become public use in order to get public funds. In that, there's another, I'm going to estimate you got maybe 2.5 kilometers worth of road. I don't know how much.
From Highway 21 to my cottage, which is the furthest one, is about 1 kilometer. I'm going to suggest in total 1.5 kilometers.
1.5 kilometers. The other.
Yes,
way.
what
I'd say 1.5.
One and three quarters like that.
Okay, so with that, there's, I'm gonna approximately 15 kilometers of private road left along the lake shore that have not requested the grant money and have not used it. So it becomes the challenge becomes for the municipality is if we remove the grant requirement of showing that you can't show a private road. Well, now we have 15 more kilometers to manage because they would all come forward and say, hey, they chose not to do that. They kept their private signs and did not request monies. And I could be corrected. There may be one other group out there, but I'm not aware of it. But anyway, and I'm just saying that this is more than just once you do it, then we have 15 more kilometers of roadway that we may be having to manage for the grants. So, but when I look at this, the one thing I do see when I see your whole presentation and what you brought forward, and I mentioned this to you before, we had spoken before, so.
Greg was very helpful last summer.
The ramp situation. I'm trying to figure out how the municipality has stated that the ramp cannot have private signs because I don't see how the ramp is, unless I'm missing it. I'm not sure how the ramp is part of that roadway for the grant. Like I'm going to guess that the ramp isn't entitled to ramp to get to grant money. So therefore it would only be the roads and we can't put a condition on your ramp. You can make it private as you want. I'm careful to say it. I'm saying this right now just in case, but I'm pretty sure the ramp could be said that's private. Nobody can go down it.
Yeah, I think part of the issue, sorry to jump in, but is just the lack of clarity. Like we've never come to council before, excuse me, to discuss it openly like this and to figure out, so what exactly is the policy? What can we put up? What can't we put up? Where can it go? Can it be just the ramp? Can it be the road? So this why this dialogue is very helpful. We would love to put up sign that says no beach access because as I said, we're really concerned about safety down there. And I said, this past summer, we had 4 incidents, two vehicles nearly, one was hanging over into the ravine. One of our cottagers stopped the person and helped them get out of harm's way. But I'm really worried about them going down the ramp as somebody's pulling a small child up the ramp, right?
I was just going to ask for clarity if we could through Dave.
Dave, our road superintendent.
Yep,
he's
through you, your worship. There was an email that was actually shared to the association on June 26th of last year that had stated that if it was the case that there was a wish to have the signage installed at the ramp itself, it is not actually eligible for grant funding anyway. So if there was the desire to install signage there that identified that it was for private use, that it would not be in contravention of the policy because it's not grantable through the policy.
Right. Thank you. I do recall that email. We would like to have, my apologies again, the signage closer to Highway 21. There are people who will look at their Google Maps trying to find ways down to the beach, right? And I think we all did that when we were younger. And so they see a road going down from Blue Haven, and they begin that turn off of Highway 21 onto Blue Haven Road, right? And we'd like to get them off the road as soon as possible. And if I wasn't clear earlier, we're not trying to restrict access to any of their vehicles, right? I mean, clearly we have to allow municipal waste removal, emergency vehicles, police, recycling, everything else. And we're not trying to restrict access. We have to have safety. And the more people we can prevent coming down that road, it starts at Highway 21. So the beach access is one, but the private road access issue for us is important. If we put up a private road sign, we're not going to be standing out there saying, you can't use this road, right? We're not simply going to do that. Vehicles still come on that road because, you know, we have family, friends, people showing up, delivery services. No one is going to police that. But it is important from a long-term assertion of ownership perspective over there that is very, very important to us. Okay. You may have read this past summer about a situation that happened in Ontario with another beach association, which was, apologies, while I reference it. There was a lakefront community, Ashfield, Colborne, Wawanosh. Right? And so, I mean, you can read about the details yourself, but because there was a lack of formality around who owned the road, who was responsible for the road, it really fell into a state of disrepair. To the point where I think the farmers that owned land refused to do the repair work. The cottagers couldn't get to their land. And so the cottagers had to appeal to the municipality to get involved and do the repair work. So we believe that the signage provides clarity for everyone involved about rights, responsibilities, ownership, rights of egress, regress, those sorts of things. That's all we're looking for. There's certainly not going to be any attempt to restrict lawful access to those roads.
Excuse me, I was just conferring back, you talking about ACW and,
Yeah.
and I have a counselor, go ahead and give your question or your comment.
Sure.
But I want to get back, you've mentioned a couple things there.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You too. I have a couple of questions. First one is, and I'm listening to your beach ramp safety. You are, the association is in fact the owner of that road, right?
Correct.
So my question to you is, have you considered putting a gate across that beach access?
There is a gate.
So how did people drive down the hill with the gate?
They will ignore it if it's, so there's a lock on it. Sometimes it's unlocked for, someone goes down to launch a boat. And they leave
Unlocks
the
it.
gate open, right? And they're just gonna launch the boat and come back. And in that few seconds, somebody comes
So
charging.
you
it.
do control it.
We do.
Okay, that's my.
It's a
first-
combination code on the lock, given
Oh,
only to the beach association.
Thank you. That's what I was wondering because we didn't see that.
Yeah.
My next question is, I saw on your signs, private beach, no access on the beach. And I know that is a source of contention all along the Lake Huron Lakeshore because some of the properties are deeded access to the high water line, some are not. And then that is an ongoing legal battle.
Mhm.
And I certainly, in my sitting on this council, would not support that. I believe that's an international border, international beach. I don't believe that is acceptable, but that's just my opinion. It's not the council's opinion. And I saw your sign on there. We want this sign. I certainly wouldn't support that.
From our perspective, we understand full well, the beach, in our perspective, is public. We have no ownership rights over the
Well, your
beach.
sign on your presentation did not say that.
Well, the signs are just representative signs, they're not. the
Okay,
intent
so
signs.
that's not what you
They're
presented.
just graphic signs, yeah.
Yeah. The third thing I'm gonna ask you is, how long has the road been there and how long have the farmers been using those roads? Has the association there before? Was there a road there before the association existed? The farmers already used it? Like,
We
just asking,
acquired,
you know,
the
history?
Beach Association acquired the road from the farmers 1972, 1973. I have the complete documentation from the Ross firm in Goderich.
And there's no agreement to use those roads that you're saying?
They did the research on the road and there is no agreement. There are no easements. There are no prescriptive easements. We own it, full rights.
I
no
understand the
access.
ownership, but the history, I would say there could be a legal battle as well. That's all I had questions. Thank you.
Yeah, but just to put to really dot that I, we had them research it extensively. As I said, neither of the farmers, north or south, have any claim to easements, prescriptive easements on Bleeding Beach Road.
So when they sold the roads, they didn't get an easement attached.
Correct.
However, they've used it for like 50 years.
They've used it for
More
the
than
number of years since we've purchased it, but since that time, there's been no easements in place.
Okay,
So
the
it's all-
question is, was the road there before you purchased it? Yeah, well, obviously it was there.
Obviously, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you mentioned something about ACW. I think I know it's always dangerous. There is some issues up there, but that, that maybe not, that is not maybe the issue that I think this is. But we could check into that if council wishes. It really comes back to how the policy was created. The reason why private road was one of the cornerstones of this program back for many, many years, councillors and even councillors were elected on the other side of 21 were on Hay Council, Stanley Council. Most of them have relations, probably first cousins on both sides. And it always was, we don't, you know, an argument that was made many times is we don't get a lot of services and yet our assessment. And of course, we said that's a provincial matter. That's how so yes, Council of Blue Water looked at this. And one of the arguments always was that, well, was said to people, yeah, you pay taxes, but you can drive in any of those roads. And of course, the answer was back from my own cousin. I don't drive down Babylon Side Road. And c'est la vie. So that's sort of one of the main cornerstones of why the program had to have some fairly solid parameters. And it was also, quite frankly, because everybody on this side of 21 could say, I have a cottage, I have a private road. I'm going to get this easement or this little bit of money, because that wasn't the full answer. It was just trying to get something that showed respect for all citizens. So I appreciate your and I have empathy with your argument, but at the end of the day, I just can't see for a council to, as pointed out, it just can't do one, and it would create a whole dynamics that just isn't in the cards. You mentioned some farmers that are using it. As a suggestion, I'd be talking to them to bring up about their use and how they're doing things. I know of some farmers that have used laneways unknowingly, and the owner comes out and says, and the farmer usually pays up. But again, that's I've known that to happen. But unless councilors are wishing to really open this up, but I caution that would not, unfortunately, I just don't see it happening, that we can make such a major change in that policy. It would create, well, it would just throw the whole thing out. I guess we'd have to start all over again with try to figure out another way to do it. And I don't think that's in the cards at this time, but I look to council where you want to go with this. You've heard some discussion about the ramp. Maybe staff have some ideas where you could put the sign out to the road about the ramp. I'm just spitballing, and you can talk with them. But unless I see a motion for council that we want more information on this, I think that's about where we're at. And as a suggestion, and that's only a suggestion for me, I would maybe talk to the farmers and see about them, because you brought up some good points. And just to be clear, Highway 21, I don't believe we're going to have any jurisdiction about Highway 21 when it comes to anybody asking for a right of way, house or farm. That is, it's MTO.
Right.
Okay, just so
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be smart about it or trying to deflect. It's a fact.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, fair enough.
Okay.
Yep.
But anyway, I look to council because we have spent some time on it. We've had discussion. Councillor Harris.
So, Mr. Mayor, in usual fashion, delegations are received for information. So are you basically stating that they should work with staff on where they can place their signs and ask the questions and ask the rural with no motion of no reports back from staff? Is that where you?
Well,
were-
if you
is that
make
what
that
you were
motion,
stating?
we'll
Is that
see
what
where-
you were stating?
I guess I was, yes, but I looking for a motion for that direction. And we'll see if it carries what I thought, if you want to make a motion. We can have no motion either, which means there's no discussion.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I'll make the motion to receive for information.
You see for information,
I'll second.
seconded by Councillor Lamport. Any further discussion? Okay, we all understand then that there's no further issue here at this time. Obviously, you can still talk to staff about the ramp and all that. Feel free to do that. Okay, we clear on the motion?
No.
Okay, well, we will, does council understand the motion? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, the clerk can explain what we just did, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Sure. So through you, your worship, when a delegation attends council, there's two options. They council can request a report back with further information, or they can receive the delegation for information and there's no further action taken. As Mayor Klopp said, you're welcome to continue speaking to staff on signage
ramp.
regarding the ramp.
So am I to take from that then there is some flexibility in terms of some signage, location of signage
For the ramp,
for the ramp exclusively?
yes.
I see.
That's all he can follow, because that's the rules he's following, not because that is the fact. Okay, we made a decision here by, as heard, we're not entertaining opening that up.
Well, ask, just, I know we've taken up more than
No,
enough
no, that's
time.
fine. Pay
Just for
taxes.
I have to go back to our beach association at the annual general meeting this summer. And I need to be able to articulate to them the thought process here, and I'm not entirely clear, I understand. Let me try to feed it back to make sure I understand what you're saying, which is, okay, that's a good idea. But just for tonight as well, the concern is there are other beach associations that have private roads that are not taking funding today, that have private signs up, and they've chosen to keep the private and not take the funding.
Sorry, they chose to go with private signs versus taking funding.
And the concern is if we put up our private signs and get the funding, they will come back to you for funding. And that just is not something that's in the budget today.
Absolutely.
or a policy
Well,
that you wish to change.
It is one of the concerns, yes.
And actually, all over the municipality, there are lots of cottages on private roads.
Mhm.
And they're actually the ones that brought it up, and that's sort of how that kind of came, part of it, how it came to be back in 2002, when we were trying to figure out a fairly simple plan. Anyway, that's enough said. We've got it. You've heard the direction. You've asked for clarification.
Thank you.
And you've heard you can still talk about the ramp.
We'll be in touch.
And as a counselor, is there anything more?
No, I was just gonna say, I'd be more than happy to talk and explain it a little bit more, but I was just gonna clarify, when the mayor says about other cottages, he can be referring to, there's farms that have private roads. There's I only gave you the number of roads that are along the lake shore. Farms have them, there's all different spots. Well, it opens up quite a avenue if we're saying we're gonna start paying for private roads.
We also have campgrounds that are
Campgrounds
private,
That are around and behind,
and
not even on the lake.
and this is why it's gotta be, and they make the up, they make their decisions, but that would, everybody'd be open then.
Okay.
How would we argue it? So.
Right.
Any-
Again, and just a final point, and I'm repeating myself. From our perspective, it's not just about the funding, right? It is about ensuring the protection of our property rights on a long-term basis, right? That is really important as we see development going on up and down the highway, right? And a farmer sells his land for whatever millions of dollars to a developer. We do not want to be in a situation where now arguing, having legal battles over who has right to Blue Haven Beach Road. Because from our perspective, through good legal counsel, it's ours and no one else has access to it. So that, just so you know, we may be forced to limit access to agricultural equipment. But anyway, I thank you for your time and I'll let you get on with the rest of the business of the evening. Thank you.
And thank you for coming out and, explaining your position.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're now at consent agenda 5.1 through to 5.11. Is there anything on here anybody wishes to bring up or discussion? If not, I need a motion to receive the consent agenda for information. Councillor Groot moves. Is it seconded by Councillor Bailey? Last chance for everybody to bring up anything. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We're going to now 6, management reports. Encroachment agreement, Princess Street North, 6.11. And that is on it's been talked about. We had it, as you recall, back in November. Dave, is there any comments before we see if this passes or not?
Yeah, through you, your worship. There was some information that was received as well today with respect to the encroachment agreement that is in front of council. from a resident that had expressed some concerns with as it relates to the encroachment. I did provide some information back on that, but just for council's benefit to the conversation, if you'll just bear with me for a moment. I apologize.
That's okay.
So just as it relates to the spruce tree that was identified in the email, so our operations as they exist today would not, we're not seeing a significant issue with respect to snow storage at this time. So it is not the case that we feel that it is critical to remove that cedar tree, blue spruce tree, I apologize. And so that we would be able to functionally complete our snow removal functions and snow storage as it exists today. And then additionally, there was also concern expressed with respect to how the operations are, how winter maintenance operations are undertaken. I did receive confirmation as well, and I did not provide specific clarification of this in the email, but I did receive clarification from our road superintendent that basically had commented that operationally how we're achieving snow removal there is that the plow is driving down the road from south to north. So that would be discharging on the east side of the road. Then the vehicle is turning around, backing up and backing down the road, and then is plowing snow from north to south. Originally, when the subdivision was assumed for maintenance, it was the case that we were putting in best efforts to try to make use of a hammerhead that was installed at that location. And unfortunately, given the constraints within the site itself and just the width of the road itself, it is not. It was just not found to be something that was favorable with respect to the winter operation. So, so we had to be a little bit more dynamic in how winter operations were achieved in that location, and that's how we've ended up doing. It's not an ideal strategy. It is definitely not the one that we'd like to employ, where we're having vehicles backing up to achieve winter maintenance. However, it is the case that we are still achieving winter maintenance and doing so in that manner. So that, I think, just with respect to the encroachment and with respect to kind of the existence of the road. And then the other piece of the conversation is as well that I will say, just as it relates to that conversation, is that the road is actually heavily skewed to the east side, so much so that there is only a nominal portion of land that is from the edge of the road to the very to the property lines on the east side. So just as it relates to the installation of the works that were done for a turnaround, that was why it was done on the west side of the road. And as I said, just as it relates to the constraints there, that is why operationally things are being done the way that they are.
Okay, thank you. So for those, Councillor Groot and then Councillor Harris.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. A quick question for Dave. So in that area there, excuse me, so with the snow removal, understand you're saying it working, but it's less than ideal. In the future, if any of that landscaping were moved, is there a way to make it more ideal?
It would require land acquisition to make the situation more favorable. We do not have the ability to, I shouldn't say we do not have the ability. It is very challenging with the way that the road is right now, being only 66 feet wide, to actually have have a vehicle in there that's actually completing the snow removal and making that hammerhead turn there. So having that land to the north does not effectively improve the situation in any great manner. It would ultimately require some land acquisition to be able to improve a turning basin situation.
Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Dave, for your report. To councils that are new to this term, last term, Councillor Becker, we remember we had multiple discussions when we were asked to assume the clearing of the snow on this road. And I do recall the creation of this hammerhead was ultimately the only solution to be able to clear the snow on this portion of the road. Because we did ask, can we do a roundabout? And I believe Dave said the same thing. With the east side being the way it is, the only path through was that hammerhead where you could pull up, turn around and back and go back. My question to you, Dave, now would be, because I remember the discussion, it was lengthy. My question to you would be now, these encroachments that are being passed here today, will they affect any decision in the future to have proper snow removal, including the spruce tree snow removal in the future?
It will not change how we're achieving snow removal today. And it is also the case that we have identified in the encroachment agreement that if at a future point we are required to remove it for municipal operations, that we have the ability to exercise that removal if it was deemed to be required.
Okay. And just as another little bit of history, since we were talking about it, back when again, council recognized that we're gonna have to start looking at assuming more roads, not just the road grant, that was a step. There was asking that roads be taken over for a lot of reasons. It was in that first draft that every road had to come up to a standard, I'm gonna say,
It's an assumption.
an assumption standard that our equipment could go on. Council come and go, and the council said that, well, we're gonna take that out. And roads could be taken over. And that is one of the downfalls when we started taking roads over, that they're not perfect. As you recall, this was a 3-year program in that area. That was because of the amount of money that we put into this budget. It took 3 years, and it wasn't as was pointed out, there's property lines, and we just do the best we can. And this is one of the issues and that you have, is that trying to make arrangements when a road is not brought up to the standard as if it would be a residential road wide enough. So this is one of the give and takes that residents have to deal with, and council has to be, empathy with, but has to find a balance. And to your credit, you talked about how you spent time on it as a counselor and our staff with neighbors, and we all agree it's not perfect, but I think this is about as good as it's going to be, and I'm supporting this motion. But I appreciated the questions today, as always. Go ahead. I'm looking now for direction here with regards to his recommendation.
Actually, I'm just gonna ask one more question that was
Go ahead,
in
sir.
today's email.
Oh, yeah, good. Open up my questions, sir.
Regards to, yeah, and you made comment, I just want to put it out there in the public of homeowners cleaning the road, municipal roads on their own, and how we are deterring that.
Yeah, through you, your worship. So in this instance here, it was expressed concern that individuals are were performing snow removal functions on municipal roads. So in those instances, this one included, it is typically that we will provide a letter to a homeowner that says, as a reminder, this is a function of the municipality. You are not to be continuing to do that. If it was required, we could look at seeking legal action against an individual. That would be a fairly heavy-handed approach, and we have not to date taken that approach. But it is the case that we actively do remind residents who are doing snow removal on municipal right-of-ways or road allowances that those are not undertakings that they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, and building department has a comment.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make note, we had a second resident in the area that brought up concerns today, and their concerns were towards the use of the land, and it just wanted to be noted, because the report doesn't really address it, that there is no changing to the road allowance there, that the public still has full access to that road allowance there. There was a property owner nearby that had concerns that they would no longer be able to access that part of the road allowance, but they do still contain full access. It still is a public road allowance. So I just want to make that noted for the residents.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I've listened to some of the concerns about this to you, to the manager of public works. So Dave, in your professional opinion, are we achieving good clearance of the snow and the issues on this road? Because there's some concern about that, so I just need to ask you that.
I believe that we're providing adequate snow maintenance in accordance with the minimum maintenance standards.
And thank you, Dave. And so there must be some confusion or concern with the people that have blown snow there in the past because there's continued to do it. So is that just because they did it before? Like, there's some real concern about that.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I'm unclear, as I am in a lot of instances where individuals do that. I don't know if it's simply a function of an individual trying to fill their time in, or if it's intentionally meant to be vexatious against somebody else, or what the principles behind somebody doing the actions that they're doing. I don't know that. I can't speak to that, and they have not been shared with me. But I can say that we do actively and have consistently actively in all these instances approach the individual who we understand is the offender to remind them that that conduct is not acceptable.
Okay, council, is there anyone wishing to give direction here? There's a recommendation, bylaw 5-22-2026. Is anybody wishing to move this motion? Deputy Mayor, seconder. Go ahead.
Through and I listened to what Councillor Harris asked. So should the blue spruce and the stones that are in the way be a problem in the future? I heard you say, Dave, that we would have the option of removing those to get the vehicle turned or things plowed or whatever. Is that my correct understanding?
Through you, your worship, yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the motion. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And that's a bylaw to authorize encroachment agreement with Peter and Joan Carsons to give first, second, and third and final reading the second day of February 2026. With all due respect, sir, appreciate that, but no, there's no comments at this time. Use of shipping containers. We're now at, sorry, here, get my agenda back on Jade, it turned it over. Using shipping containers as structures.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this report is an information report to come back after council's direction from the November budget meeting, right? The two recommendations in the report are really a cleanup slash reminder of how it originated to council, right? So we kept those in there just so council knows. That's why those recommendations are in there. We realized that this report really was geared towards the zoning bylaw changes at this point. Containers are permitted to be used in some situations. The table on page 2 of the report really does guide us to where they are permitted to be used. Any container can be altered to become a building with a building permit under the Farm Code or the Ontario Building Code. The requirements for how and what must be altered to become a building are within the Ontario Building Code as well. The only time no permits are required would be if a container is being used on a temporary basis, such as moving or for permitted in industrial or commercial situations. If council is seeking changes to the zoning bylaw, a zoning bylaw amendment is required. And that's the standard normal process that any applicant would go through for a zoning bylaw amendment, and that just has to be followed. So public notification and public meeting would have to happen. This process, it can be stated by council, being municipally initiated application, or if council wants, they could wait for this to be addressed after the official plan is done, because there's a general housekeeping proposed after the official plan is done. The only element I really want to emphasize here is that if council is wishing to seek changes to the zoning bylaw, specifically section 339, towards the use of shipping containers, we as staff need to know your exact thoughts and items you'd like to see changed and addressed, so that we can bring back the report and bring back that initiated report for you. Okay. That's really all I have this time. I'll open up for questions.
Thank you. We have open for questions, and someone might relate to the two recommendations that were before. Okay, just so we can, if you know that, Councillor Harris.
Thank you.
With you, and then
Mr. Mayor. So Aaron, great report. It kind of opened my eyes to a couple of things. And you know, I see things a little bit differently sometimes. So in my eyes, when shipping containers are spoken about in a bylaw in the municipality of Blue Water, I see a shipping container, CCAN, whatever you want to call it, as a temporary structure for storage, to accommodate and can be convenience to a resident for a short period of time. My issue, and I'm okay with CCANs being in residential areas for a month, 2 months, 6 months maximum, while something is being built or something is being moved. My issue with shipping containers being in residential areas for 6 to 10 years, that's where I have an issue. The non-enforcement on it, and I'm sure our bylaw enforcement is driven by them, seen shipping containers and laneways that have been there for multiple years and nothing gets done. No, I do like in the report the fact that we have changed in our as a building code, I guess, that shipping containers can be used as building material. So I'm totally fine with the CCANs. If you're going to park a CCAN at the end of your laneway and you're going to put roof trusses on it and dress it down and put siding on it and make it look like a garage, have at her. Then it doesn't look like a CCAN. But I do agree it needs a building permit and it has to be approved. So that's where I'm at on the whole CCAN thing. I've said my piece. If it's been there as a storage unit and it says you store still on it on the side, and you've seen it there for 5-6 years, it's got to go. Or you apply for a permit and you dress it up to make it look like a shed and you carry on.
okay, Councillor Green, any comments or no?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess I was going to make a comment to the recommendation 1 or 2 here, probably more 2. I guess reading through it, I was thinking too, on the shipping container being used by Zurich Minor, I guess my mind went to that this is a community facility, but I know the zoning would suggest otherwise. They're open space. I guess I'm struggling with that one a little bit, because like they're going to put something there, and without a rezoning, is there any other option to be able to do something there without a rezoning?
Well, we can ask for direction on that, because this tonight is only for direction. And ideas, because that's the first, that sort of initiated some of this. We asked for clarification where the minor is. And I've got some same kind of lines, but we can entertain that and see where it goes. Anything that we bring up, the gentleman said he's fairly happy with the sections, and if nothing else is said, there's gonna stay that way for now. Okay, is there any other comments that you wish to make, Councillor Groot? I can then go to the next question.
Not yet.
Okay. Councillor, and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find this response somewhat confusing, not the issues on it. Because I have been told repeatedly in the past that from the CBO that all sea cans and blue water have to have a roof on them. And I was told that on certain terms, and that is not the case from what I understand. So I was a little surprised to hear that. And I understand the industrial application, everything else. So then we're looking at what Councillor Harris was talking about, I believe, in residential areas. And I do respect that. I'm not in favor of having sea cans parked in anybody's front lawn indefinitely for a temporary period of time. I would agree with them. So it was a little confused. The response that I got is not what I was told officially when I asked before. And you know, Mr. Mayor, we discussed this. I wasn't really pleased with that. This is a different, and I'm pleased with what the real thing actually is. So we're looking at a bunch of different things here. We're looking at these two issues, but that wasn't the point of my request previously. And I mean, it should have been more specific. I guess I wasn't being specific enough, because there's sea cans and personal properties all over the municipality right now. And so they're not legal, and they won't be legal based on this. I know I'm kind of with Councillor Harris in urban areas, not rural areas, and the act doesn't, our bylaw doesn't say they have to, which was, I was told that before. I said, sorry for going over this, but it was a little upsetting to find that isn't the case. So I would support Councillor Harris's idea that if you're putting it in a residential area, it needs to be dressed up somehow. And I didn't quite understand the CBO's first discussion that the building code says you have to, this building code says to that. I didn't quite get that, because there's a variety of things. So maybe I would ask through you to that explained again, please.
Okay,
So I'll just look for a little clarity through you to Councillor Walden there. Specifically, which parts of the building code, like the building code, the definition of a shipping container meets the definition of a building under the building code, and it contains a roof, it contains a floor, it contains walls, right? So once a structure meets that definition, then it is required to be, it's required to have a building permit issued for it and reviewed that way. Any container that is used for a building, it's going to depend on the use, and what the building is being used for depends on what is needed to happen to that container. So it can be altered there's going to be some situations that there may not be another door installed on it, but then when you get into other types of uses, you may have to put multiple doors on it for people to access and exit out. But it is a requirement that any container used as a building that isn't there temporarily does require to get a building permit.
Thank you very much. And that clears up. I never heard the words that it has to have a roof or a structure put on it, has to have a building permit. That really helps a lot. And we need to be cognizant of the fact that there are tens and twenties, probably over 100 that aren't in that situation in our municipality. So we have to be aware that we're in that mode.
okay, Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Groot again, if that's okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going back to recommendation number one, which was a request from our facilities department to have one here. So it didn't jeopardize the bylaw that was in place before. Maggie brought it to our attention, we give it to her attention. There's a bylaw that has to be changed. That's why it's here. And I will move that recommendation number one, move forward.
I just think on some clarification,
She wants
I
to-
think our zoning bylaw allows it. We don't need to make any. Is that right?
Here in Barnet, that's right.
Here in Varna, it's okay. We don't need any motion.
Sorry.
That's where it's a little bit confusing.
Recommendations on.
But you're moving because I thought you said because we need to change our zoning. We don't.
Just moving the recommendations.
Okay, all right, we can get rid of that one right now and second it. We'll get that put away. So basically that came back from, I think the argument was that she was trying to save some money for us by not having to build a structure. She was gonna get a C-CAN when we were doing budget. Am I kind of on the right trail? I'm seeing nods.
Ask.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you are. Thank you, Maggie. Maggie off, just to be clear.
Thank you. And through you, your worship, we had this item when we presented our budget back in November. And at that time, council had asked some questions about whether or not it was permitted, and which brought forward this report, this review that we've done today. We've confirmed that shipping containers are permitted as storage on this property. And so we just had this first recommendation just to get absolute clarity that I could move forward with this capital project.
Thank you. So everyone's heard that. Can I call the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, getting back to Councillor Group. Oh, and then Councillor, and then you. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. And maybe there's a misconception of my own when I heard Aaron speaking there for a minute. I guess I was thinking that if these containers went into a built-up area or whatever that wording is, that they had to be engineered. There's a big difference between engineering and just getting a building permit.
Correct. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Groot there, a shipping container is not conventional construction. So under the building code, we have generally two streams when we get into structural elements. Part 9 of the building code is smaller buildings, residential, and that really delineates our typical wood frame construction, post and beam, those sorts of things. If we can't fit into that typical construction with studs, post and beam situation, then we go into the other part of the code, which is part 4. It doesn't talk about shipping containers in there, but part 4 is required to be done by an engineer. So that's where there's nothing in the building code that we can say a shipping container can do this, but an engineer very easily can. And that's where the engineering requirement comes from, because the building code doesn't have elements that we can say, yes, you can do this with it, as we can with a wall or a beam in conventional construction or such, right? The part 4 of the building code is a requirement that is required to be done by an engineer. It's not something even us municipal staff can do. It is an engineered design. So container would require an engineered design for a building.
Yeah, thanks. So just so I'm hearing that correctly, if a person wanted to use a container in a settlement area, I agree they should look decent. They should be dressed up somehow. But the only way they're getting a permit is to have an engineer's stamp on this container. Is that what we're saying?
That would be correct, only for the structural component. So the steel unit itself.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify more of a statement, just to support going back a couple conversations there. I agree totally with Councillor Harris that within urban areas, I think it's just not a good idea. We have to look at obviously what you would call your property standards and what our community is going to look like. And I'm sure that's where a lot of this comes from. So when we look at this part 2 or the recommendation number 2, it's related to the recreational field. And sure, a shipping container may be slightly cheaper when you put one in. However, its aesthetics are not what's appeasing to the eye, and a shed would be so much nicer to store things in. So I do understand exactly where Councillor Harris is coming from, and for that reason, I support number 2, even though we haven't put that recommendation forward. I also have a question of Aaron. So you just mentioned about the engineer's report, and this one just begs the question is a shipping container, I'm not going to say a shipping container is a shipping container is a shipping container, but at what point does an engineer just make a statement to say it's a shipping container and therefore it meets a code, like meets a standard? Like are you going to ask every single person to get an engineer on the same product? Like it seems very odd that you would ask for an engineer's report for something that is repeated and made, you know, regularly.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, essentially the answer is yes to that, that each container, each application would require engineering. If a engineer is being able to do it cheaper because he's doing multiple and he's reviewed many of them, then that is a possibility. And that's where I would tell any applicant that they should have that conversation with the company or the place they're purchasing it from, right? But essentially the answer is yes to that, that every application would need to have an engineer review for it.
This is probably the longest CCAN report that we've spoken about so far. But just in the for Councillor Walden, we just passed that there was a company that's going to put a gas generator in a CCAN on a farmland. He's not required to put a roof on it or anything like that. So walls, roof, he's going to get stamped. He's going to get a building permit. Generator goes in a CCAN. To Aaron. So this whole engineering of a CCAN, and you have to understand my biggest issue is in the villages. So if I have a 10 foot tall by 8 foot wide garage that's 15 feet deep existing in my place, and I want to extend it by 50 feet, give or take. If I have BM Ross stamp a CCAN and I can park it in the backside of my garage and cut the back wall out, I can make that as an addition in the town of Village or in the village of Peninsula.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the answer to that is yes. The container as an addition would still be part of a building. So that would be permitted. I've seen that done before where they're removing a portion of it to add on to another building.
If I may. But don't have to dress it up. Does not have to look identical to the building it's being attached to.
No, it doesn't need. No, unfortunately, no, because it's there as a building. It's getting a permit. Then it doesn't need to be anything spectacular. It doesn't need to be dressed up. It doesn't need to have a certain roof on it.
Okay, Councillor Groot and then Councillor Bailey.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Again, maybe our language, I'm thinking, is a little bit ambiguous, maybe I would say, because like we're talking a lot about shipping containers, but when you read the policy, there is talk of truck bodies and old rail car cabooses and stuff like that. Like there is a huge difference between an old truck body and a container. And I wonder if that's where some of the structural engineering discussion should surround. Like a container is very structurally sound, where a truck body is a whole different story.
Okay, Councillor Bailey, please. Thank you.
Looking at the engineering for like say CCANs and that, you're getting an engineered drawing. Yes, you get that stamped, but say it hasn't been maintained. It's a used CCAN, it's rusty, it's falling apart, but it has an engineered drawing. but they all come re-stamped. Once you buy them, they all have a stamp and they all have different qualities and different maintenance reports and where they've been, what they've been used for, how they've been rented out. And they come with a full docket.
You're speaking from experience on this, I guess. Okay. So the ones that most people buy already have a stamp of some sort, you're saying?
A lot of them are, they have to go through certain quality analysis to be resold. Because the one that
Well,
I'm renting had to go through that.
well, and I guess I'm putting words in his mouth, but if there's if I guess I'm getting one that's got a stamp, it meets the approval of Aaron, am I jumping to a conclusion?
No, I wouldn't say jumping to conclusions, Mr. Mayor. To answer Councillor Bailey's question there, yes, majority of them come with stamps. It just comes down to the date of the stamp. So as long as the date is current on an engineer stamp, then generally it is acceptable.
Councillor Lamport, I think, get his hand up and then we'll go back to you, sir.
I'm prepared to make the recommendation number 2.
Can we're gonna get to that, if you would allow me, if you, something on some other, with regards to the overall issue of CCANs, and then we're gonna go back to number 2. I think we're ready to do that.
My comment was about number 2, and from my previous comment about I can throw a C-can as long as it's got a stamp on it, backside of my garage, and apply for a permit and all is good. Then why are we forcing the Zurich Athletic Club to put a roof on theirs and make it look pretty? Because it's an open space, I get it. Because it's in OS, that's it.
I didn't know we're making them put a roof on one, actually, just to be fair. But let's get on to the subject about the Zurich Minor Athletic. I think we're gonna get to that, sir. We're gonna talk about that specifically now. We've had good discussion and as just pointed out, just on this, if there's any time we wish to ask more questions on this or ask for rezoning, it can happen. Now, with regards to specifically Zurich Minor Athletic, they came to us, and if I got this wrong, please correct me. They came to us because my intent was, their intent was that to build a building is so much, we would prefer if we could put a can, and keep in mind, they're paying for this. We then said, let's get it clarified. So there's been a motion. Well, let's get it. There's all right, there's just still discussion. I want to be clear on this. Okay, so it comes down to in Varna, which has to me, a public place, has a ball diamonds. And but it can have temporary, it can have storage for materials. In the case of the ball diamond people, it's materials for the ball diamond. Zurich looks like a ball diamond, but it's called open space, and that's the kicker where it said it's not allowed.
It's in the middle of a village, Mr. Mayor.
It's in the middle of the village. I would not say it's the middle of the village. I would not say it's the middle of the village.
Where's the Zurich ball diamond then?
Well, it's in a village, but anyway, you're right. I'm not gonna quibble over that. The point of it is, though, it looks like a ball diamond, the same as Varna. I get the nuance. It's out in the country. But people do go there and they're gonna eat. I really question if anybody goes, it looks like a ball diamond. They both look like a ball diamond.
So is the Holmesville ball diamond in Goderich?
Pardon?
Is the Holmesville ball diamond in Goderich? In Holmesville? Like is Holmesville ball diamond in Holmesville?
The ball diamond is in Varna. I'm not quibbling that.
Yeah.
There's a ball diamond in Zurich, and when you're playing ball at both of them, you're looking at buildings. It's hard. I'm just pointing out the argument. So we have open spaces. Did we get it clarified? My question is, did we get clarified that Zurich is called open spaces and wasn't called recreation area?
Yes, so the zoning for those 3 parcels in Zurich where the park is open space.
Okay. And so it really comes down to, for me, I have no trouble if an organization wishes to, and they got to look at this, and they're all, I think they're from Zurich area. If they could save some money in their fees, I don't have a problem with putting up a can versus a building. But I will, when we have the vote, there's two things we can decide here. Counselor, let's make some decisions.
Yeah, so just to clarify, because you're obviously stating your point regarding point two, so I want to make sure that's on the table, that I'll make the motion for the recommendation number two,
Okay, that's what I
and
was
we were
looking for.
waiting for a seconder.
Go ahead.
Sorry, through your worship. Oh, sorry, my bad.
Okay, okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to back up conversation here just a couple of minutes. So a couple of minutes ago, when I'm looking at your chart as to where these are allowed, and I know it's arguable on the looks of a container. I totally agree. You don't want an ugly container hanging out somewhere. They should be made look decent somehow. However, they're in your chart, it's saying residential areas and open spaces are not allowed unless a building permit is had, right? Like Councillor Harris's description of if he knocked the end wall out of his garage in Hensel and he got a building permit and he got a stamped container, he can put it in there.
Yep.
So could the Zurich miner get a stamped container and get a building permit and put it on that site?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, as the wording in the zoning bylaw is currently, yes.
It sure reads that way. Yes. Yeah,
I'm just gonna throw something out there. There's a little shed on there. Can they attach the storage container to that, similar to what he was saying about attaching it to a building? Because there's already a
Yes.
building on the property. Yeah. Okay.
This, it could be a structural building maybe added on, because this motion does say you work with the staff, and that might be one of the things, save some money and on one wall, I guess. But we're dealing with the issue of the can versus not. Go ahead.
Okay, I have to seek clarification on the point that Councillor Groot just said. Did I hear it right that they can, if they go for a building permit using a CCAN, the Zurich ball diamond, they can, no, without the shed, just you asked the straight question, just the CCAN comes in and gets an engineer report, they can have that.
Correct.
Well, then why does that say it's not permitted?
So, and I'll allow Maggie to jump in here if she wants to, but essentially the original ask from the Athletic Association was to just use the container and not have to get a permit and not have to put in, like, in this case, we may require them to put a door in the container, right? A man door as an exit to get out. It doesn't have to be where the two doors are. It can be on the side somewhere else. And the original ask was for them to put in just a container and not make it comply with the building code.
Can I just clarify? So if that statement said, shipping container for outdoor storage at Zurich Baseball Diamond is not permitted without permit? That's a correct statement?
Yeah.
Oh,
Can I withdraw my motion?
The seconder agrees.
I,
Okay. Back to the whole discussion, back to our CCAN. Are we having to get an engineer's stamp for the CCAN that we're gonna be putting here?
Yes.
We're getting it We're having
For,
to,
for here in Varna, yes, it's going to be a building. Yes.
and Maggie, you're aware of the costs of that versus building a building for, first off, how big is the can you're getting? Sea can?
Through you, your worship, we would be looking like around like 10 by 20 roughly. But again, we were kind of waiting for this conversation before I really,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was, I wasn't sure if you were getting like a 42, two of them, putting them together or something. Okay, so it's about a 10 by 20, which is a normal can, or 10 by 40. I forget. 8 by 20 is a normal can. And you're aware of you've figured in already the cost of an engineer to get it passed?
Through you, your worship, yeah, I had worked with Aaron on this project in advance, so yeah, we believe it would all fit within the budget that council approved.
Okay, and obviously you did the numbers and it's way cheaper than building an 8 by 20 structure. Right?
That's correct. And it's temporary, which is what we like for this option, just in case we do decide to do larger modifications down the road. That way we're not investing too much money into just some temporary storage for now.
So I'm gonna jump to a conclusion if it's, as it states here, they are entitled to look at that option. And I say it's an 8 by 20 or 8 by 40. Maybe then they can, they can weigh what their engineering costs are versus a building. And if it's allowed?
If I may, through you, your worship, yeah, from here, if council move forward with the second recommendation, I would go back to the Zurich Minor Athletics Association and let them know that a shipping container as is not permitted under the current zoning bylaw. And then that we could discuss other options from there. So we could work with the building department to talk about what modifications would be needed in order to get the shipping container approved under our zoning bylaw. They might decide to move forward with a different type of structure. It could be, we could frame up a shed. So there would be other options we could explore. This was their original ask in their letter. And so that's why it's coming before council. And yeah, so if council moves recommendation 2, that's the conversation I would have with them. They could also apply for a zoning bylaw amendment, but I would first see if there's other options we could explore.
Yeah, well, I think it's up to council if you want to spend that kind of money. It's as I say, it's the municipality's property. But getting back to this, the way I read this, a motion could be made to give clear direction to Maggie that you could go to them and say, if you wish to put a sea can up as an option, here are the rules. Go ahead, Counselor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So if I've got this right, I'm understanding better now. Maggie's trying to answer to the original letter. If number 2 was amended to read that council directs staff to advise Zurich Minor Athletic Association that the use of a shipping container, as is, for outdoor storage at the Zurich Baseball Diamond is not permitted. And to work with the association to identify an appropriate alternative. I don't even know if you have to say alternative storage facility, but I guess it still would be alternative. You're putting indoors, so I'd leave it the same. An appropriate alternative storage facility option. Does that answer everything?
No, doesn't mention that they can still put a sea can up, as you pointed out.
It
Did?
does.
Okay, I didn't hear that, so just clarify for me.
It's stating that you can't put a sea can up as it is.
Okay.
Without permit or whatever. It's just not permitted to just put it there. There's rules that are going to be applied, and we're answering to what they requested. They requested just to set down a sea container and use it for storage. And our answer is, no, you can't do it that way. But we can do it another way, and this is how we can do it. Options, which is going to be build a building or use a sea can and make adjustments to the sea can that are going to meet permit requirements.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that's the way to answer that number 2.
Hear the words.
Yeah, it's okay. I believe we got it.
Yes, so I agree with the motion. I will pass it. That, and the part that bothers me the most is the precedent this sets and the answers that I got tonight about sea-cans in villages without alteration. Because in the report, it always stated, think about Bayfield. You can't build a house. Councillor Whetstone was all about it. Did not want a sea-can house. Does not fit, right? But you can use it for building materials. Our policies state it. Go ahead, interrupt.
Oh, no.
Our policy stated. So I've learned tonight that as long as you have an engineer stamp on a C-can and apply for a building permit, you can plop it anywhere in any village. And I don't agree with that. I will agree with the fact that staff are gonna work with them to find a alternate solution to a storage facility on the Zurich open space for the baseball association. I will pass that. I don't like the fact that our policy states that you can, as long as an engineered stamp and a building permit, can plop a C-can wherever you want. If I can finish on the first comment, the first recommendation that we've already passed, which has been brought up already again. I want to ask the CBO. Maggie said 10 by 20. If it was 10 by 15, would she need a permit?
The answer is yes. 10 by 15, 150 square feet, would need a building permit still.
10 by 14 foot 11.
So I know where you're going. The size of a building is 108 square feet is one a building. In residential, there is no requirement of a permit for storage up to 160 square feet, but that's only in residential.
And there are. To be clear here, the policy always was what was here. Blue Water with regards to the building code always said you could probably use C-cans. Council made a decision, we're not having C-cans built in residential areas, and someone finally pushed it and tried it, and we took it to the wall, and the OLAP or whatever it's called came back with a very detailed process. It isn't just a matter of slapping a C-can up and you got a house. If anybody takes the time to read it, most of us did. But be clear, the building code never did say, it was us as council. And that's where I kind of talking, and we'll maybe talk about more about this, about engineering. I think if we could probably do some things about certain things and then see if someone takes it to OLAP, to a higher court. But be clear, all this here today that we talked about was always there. And we just clarified as we got talking about it, well, then the motion need to be changed that they can, if they follow the rules, can apply for that. So let's be clear of that. We don't want to, I get the frustration, but it was there. Okay, on the motion, I'm obviously going to support it because it says right here and we're not changing anything. It's an opportunity for them to weigh it like Maggie McGough did with us as taxpayers' money. But just one question. So I have a separate question with Maggie's, but so let's deal with this one here, unless there's more on this motion. Any further discussion? No, there's no such thing as a dumb question. You're okay, go ahead.
Okay, it's kind of related to this motion and the first motion that we made. I guess I'm slightly confused. There was a point made several minutes ago that the shipping container that's going to be used in Varna is going to be engineered, right? When I look at our verbiage, I can appreciate it's going to be engineered. Hey, that's great, but our verbiage would suggest it does not need to be.
Are you talking about the clarification, the recommendation? And But it doesn't say it's not gonna be either. We always make an assumption as council that that our staff are always following the rules. So that's why they don't put in many of those things. Can I say that? Really, without being out of line? They don't have to put in subject section to 995 and the building code. We just always assume our staff are following the rules that they need to follow.
So as the mover, I feel obligated to make the statement. I agree totally with you. But it has to be moved the way it is. I agree with you. I'm not into having sea cans in our urban areas, but as we found out, they can be.
And also too, there are still gonna be subject like any building out front, minimum side distances and all that. It isn't just they can plop them anywhere. I also wanted to add that on behalf of the staff. They still have to follow the other codes. Having said all that, we're at this motion. Can you read it again, just so we're all clear? Cause it isn't the one that's here, it's a new one.
So that council directs staff to advise the Zurich Minor Athletic Association that the use of a shipping container as is for outdoor storage at the Zurich Baseball Diamond is not permitted, and to work with the association to identify an appropriate alternative storage facility option.
Well, that's the same one that I'm reading here.
There was a addition as is.
Okay, as is. Now, we're not mentioning that they can consider consider containers, just be clear. Okay, all right. Yeah, but sometimes it comes back here that you didn't have it in your motion, so I want to be clear. All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Maggie, back to yours. I have a side question with that one. An 8x20, are you, how far into this with engineering? But also there has been talk, I heard discussion that maybe there has to be doors put in and stuff. Has that been something that you've, had to also, budget in, that there has to be another door in this container? Do you know that yet?
Thank you through you, your worship. No, I mean, we are still in the very early stages of this. We've started on some other projects, but I haven't taken a close look at this one yet. But I am confident with what we're looking for, we can fit it within the budget that council approved.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right,
So,
bylaw.
so Mr. Mayor,
Oh, yes.
before we move on from our favorite topic here tonight.
Now you're gonna.
Does council wish to see any changes to the zoning bylaw at this point? Because this is a point that council, you have the opportunity to start an initiated, municipal initiated zoning bylaw amendment. Is there any changes council would like to see to the zoning bylaw?
Go ahead.
So a question.
Yeah.
Which goes to the same comment that Councillor Harris made. Can we make it a zoning bylaw that sea containers are not allowed in or to be used as buildings within urban areas?
Material.
So that sentence was added in 2023 with the last housekeeping, right? So essentially we could look at removing that sentence so that shipping containers cannot be used as building materials. That would be the case, to remove that sentence, but essentially it is a very hard subject for a lot of municipalities out there, but it is something we do have to kind of adapt to and allow for them to be used, right?
Yeah, you probably can answer it.
So Aaron, take this with the way, like, you take it into your own words. What I would love to see, if somebody did an infill lot, the house on Cameron, just off Cameron, that was just built in Bayfield at Seacan, looks beautiful. Right? They did a nice job on it. If you didn't know it was a Seacan, you just think it was corrugated siding. If that was to happen in Hensel, I'd be more than happy. What I don't want to see is Seacans and laneways for 5-6 years. Even if it's engineer stamped and for some reason they had the property to permit a permit. the differentiate between building material? Because if I could put a 8x20 C-cam behind my shed, cut the back wall out, rafter it, put Z-bar on it and side it and make it look like just the same as the shed is, but you just use the C-cam for the body, I'm fine with that. It's just we don't want to plunk C-cans in backyards throughout the villages. Do you understand where I'm going? Like, I don't know how you differentiate in that zoning bylaw, let's say, that would allow you to build with, but not plunk.
Correct. And I understand fully where you're coming from, Councilor Harris. So being reminded through messages here that part of the changes in 2023 came from an OLT case with the municipality, right? Towards the use of shipping containers. Now, the aspect about making them comply and look a certain way, there was a provincial bill, I believe it was Bill 23, that remove the aspect, like specifically under site plan control, that we can dictate how buildings look. So the province took that out of our hands, that we can't do that anymore. So this is where we do get stuck in this tornado, really, I feel like.
So you're telling me basically we can't differentiate between? What you're saying is we'd have to remove the building materials? Sorry.
Correct, yes.
She's always listening.
Okay, go ahead.
You can't always differentiate without taking out the use as building materials?
Correct, and it's, yeah, it is something that is required.
Looking at it with the temporary use, so that there's a way to possibly monitor it. Is there a way to use a cloud permit form to have people sign, and that way you can track it? Because there's no way to know unless somebody tells you it's there, right? It's same with building permits. They have to get them. It's monitoring, but I'm not sure. I'm just throwing it out there.
So that is something us as staff could look at towards when containers are being used on a temporary basis. I do know there is other municipalities having a property standards bylaws that basically permit it to be there for certain time periods, depending on what the work is, if it's renovating, moving, that sort of thing. The other aspect I thought about here too, Councilor Harris, going back to you, you stated about not being in the driveway. So if they're classified as a building and permits are obtained, then yes, zoning bylaw would come in that no accessory buildings are permitted in the front yard, right? So that would pertain there. We wouldn't be able to issue a permit for that in that situation.
Unless the laneway is on the side yard.
Exterior side yard and front yard would be viewed as.
Okay, again, it's the building code was changed. We actually were countervening the building code because council can make decisions and then you see if it gets pushed. It took how many years and someone pushed it. They happened to pick Bayfield. It could have been anywhere else. And then as is pointed out, so those are clear lines. Now with regards to, is there anything right tonight? At any time we can come forward and say, I've got this and I want it looked at. And if council sees a clear one-line argument, we will give direction. But anything tonight else that you'd like or thought about? Go ahead, sir.
Just one last question, Aaron, I promise. So if there are existing C-cans out there right now that are in the villages, that aren't, that don't have a permit or a stamped engineer, how are we, what as residents and councilors supposed to do to rid those? Like, are we starting to write down addresses and file complaints, or I mean, how do we get rid of the ones that are non-compliant right now?
So through Mr. Mayor to Councilor Harris, that would be correct. Essentially, that would be a complaint through to our office. And as a councilor, you could just shoot me a quick email and we can address those.
Okay. All right, we've got, we had good discussion. I don't think, I had some ideas talking about this engineering issue on storage only, but I'm not ready to have that discussion tonight. I think we've all had a good discussion. It's not the end of the world. In talking with Aaron, there seems to be some flexibility. But we will see if as many times, if residents are coming forward with concerns, we will deal with it and see if we can work with our residents. All right, so on that, I'm gonna move on to the next subject, the bylaw amendment consent agreement C14 and 15-2021 Old River Road Fisher Development. There's a recommendation here. Councilors, anything, comments? Go ahead, sir.
I'll move it.
Move the recommendation, bylaw 7-2026, authorize the amendment consent agreement with Angela and Robert Fisher to be given first, second, third, and final reading the second day of February. Seconded by Councillor Walden. I think what I read of it, we have answered gave all the direction that council gave. Seeing nods from our acting CAO and Aaron Stewartson. I have no trouble saying I'm going to support this. Are we ready to call the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Should have started that one first. Public Works. Parking options, 93-95 Wellington Street, Hensel. And our counselor from Hensel just had a short break, but do you want to make any open comments?
Through you, your worship, no, nothing really. This is just brought back as requested through council. Identified a few options, did again to the conversation that where this had came from, had the opportunity to speak with Councillor Harris on this and discussed the different options that were there. And then also as well as I'm sure council is aware that they've through reading the report that the past history of this property is also included as part of an attachment to the report.
Yes, and unfortunately, I didn't realize that the counselor had to leave for a second. Can I put this to the side? I'm going to defer this for a minute, and we're going to go to the tender awards for roadside cutting until the counselor is back, because it is his lead and argument. If that's okay with council? Okay, we're going to defer that till he's back. Tender award 6.22 roadside grass cutting. As you can see here, there was well bid on. There's a recommendation here for Brad's Lawn Care. Move that. Second, is there any questions to our road superintendent with regards to this? Everyone okay? All right, I'm gonna call the motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now gonna go back to parking options 93-95 Wellington. We'll open it up to the counselor from Hensel. What do you want us to do? I think it's simple, straightforward. You've got some options here. Do you want some modified, whatever? What do you want us to debate?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And actually, I'm hoping all councilors read the report. I'd be more than willing to listen to other people's opinions before I was a state line.
Well, there's so many options here. Which one do you want us? It's your ward. Which one would you want us to debate first? I'm going to push that a bit.
I mean, option two is probably more business friendly, I guess you could say. Option three is obviously, I don't think option three is I think we can wipe that one away. Okay, so option two basically gives us the same thing as what we have on Nelson Street by the Queensway, where staff are parking on the side of the road. Unfortunately, that parking scenario is where the business has employees that are coming and going. So it's all in shifts. So vehicles are moving all the time. So there is the option, you know, if the municipality is cleaning the roads at that point, and there's no vehicles there, they can clean it. If you were to do that same thing on Wellington Street south of Richmond Street, I have a feeling there'll be continuously vehicles there all the time. It would be very difficult for municipality to clean those roads. So option one being a permit basis where you give him 4 spots and they have to be movable. So I understand that option one says 2 spots, but it also, there's 2 addresses there, 93 and 95, right? So that would actually give the business 4 spots, 2 per property. So that option one is probably the most lucrative. Now, there are going to be rules put in place for the business. It doesn't help. A lot of my motion did state, you know, if we were to do something for this business, it might help other businesses throughout the municipality if they are in a similar scenario. I was not actually aware until Mr. Kester told me that there was that actually put in place in Bayfield, it was Main Street North, I think you said it was. I didn't even know that it was already happening in other places in Blue Water for businesses.
Sorry, your worship, I apologize. It's not Bayfield Main Street North, it's Bayfield Terrace specifically. I apologize.
Okay. So if anybody, and I can talk more on it, I've had lots of discussions with Dave, I've had lots of discussions with the business owner. These 3 options basically are what staff can accommodate. Do they want to? Not typically. I mean, everybody should abide by the rules. However, we have done it in other circumstances. Option 3, even Dave put in the report, staff do not like that one, but it's there. Option 2, oh, and I also have to add, please note in the report that in 2029, that street is being slated for reconstruction. And then, which I will discuss at a later date, of adding parking spots, municipal parking spots on that side of the road. But this up until now, or from now up until then, before we get into the design stage of that road, something has to happen. Just to help accommodate this business owners. So what is happening right now is the business owners having vehicles dropped off. People don't know where to, he is very busy and small and tight, but dropping off, they're getting ticketed by the bylaw enforcement. So that goes on. If Councillor Walden's dropping his vehicle off there and drops it off on the opposite side of the road, it's there on a Friday night. He doesn't get there till Saturday afternoon. Bylaw goes by on Saturday morning, he's getting a ticket, and that goes on your record, not the businesses. It's happening in occasion. That's his defense. This is mine. Option 1 or option 2, I'd be willing to listen to anybody else's opinion.
Okay, Councillor Groot.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Harris, for your description there. So option 1, I would agree there, you have those couple of parking spots. But option 2, is there a limit? Like if we went option 2, it looks to be the best because, you know, winter is going to be difficult in option 1. How many parking spots would be there in option 2? Because we're saying that it's open to not just the business, it's open to public parking.
Through you, your worship. So we did go through and look at like trying to adhere to the recognized offset in the Highway Traffic Act of 15 meters from an intersection of parking. And so if we're going to adhere to that, And if parking was to continue in similar fashion to what it is now, it would be approximately 9, where it would be perpendicular to the road. I would suggest that in that scenario, when we go to look at reconstruction of that road, that we would look at parallel parking, which would be about 5 parking spaces. And the reason for that being is that that road itself, which is included as part of the report, is actually narrow by it's 6 feet narrower than a regular road. So just simply to accommodate that, additional parking on that side actually becomes challenging to the point where we would be encroaching on the railway lands to accommodate that a perpendicular parking scenario.
Thanks.
And if I can add, if you're not aware of the exact location or have been by, and I know some councils might be thinking about snow removal and stuff like that. There is a hydro standard, light standard right there that the snowplow has to accommodate. So if he was to wing in, once he got to here on Autobody, he would have to wing back out and wing back in order to do a sufficient clearing. That I'm hoping pole would be removed in the reconstruction, which would make things a little bit easier to move some snow around there. Do you have you pull up a picture?
It is, sorry, through your worship, we don't have the design to that point yet, but it is the case that we do look and in other locations, well, in all locations anyways, we look at hydropole locations to actually try to improve operations and just vehicular movement through the area as well.
If I can. I guess my point on the hydropole was the hydropole is basically on the north side of the Huron Body property line. And then the 4 parking spots would be the 4 spots to the south of that pole. So what I'm trying to say is if a snowplow is going down there, he has to go around that pole anyways. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying that snow removal is difficult on that road as is already.
I guess just further to that point, I would agree, that pole kind of delineates where the line in the snow is from the snowplow already. I personally think option 2 looks the best, but I'll leave that up to Councillor Harris.
Sorry, your worship, can you turn your mic on?
Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. No wonder
I
it
apologize.
sounds so good. No, thank you. So I'll just reiterate, I support the idea that we recognize a business. The work that the counselor did in talking to him, the staff were following the rules. And as we pointed out, then make some changes so staff can work with them. Historically, a lot of people in Hensel and area, including myself as a farmer in Hay Township, I just assumed that was their property across the road because it's been there for 40 or 50 years. But amalgamation did, there was no, obviously, the town just got along to get along. But as our staff pointed out, we need some direction. So option one or option two, I'm easy with both of them, as long as we delineate that from that post south, there can be vehicles there. He is obviously, for 50 years, there was dealing with snow, and this year's piled up, but I have seen it higher. And he has to deal with the train people. Like, that's, again, that's, if the train people, they'll have that argument. That's not our problem. But I think this goes a long way to give direction, and it's also about showing that we're trying to work with businesses. And I think that's a plus too for us as council. So, again, whichever one, but let's keep moving forward with this, and then we'll see how it works. Councillor Bailey.
Thank you. On that corner where that building was, what did they build there? I can't remember. I haven't driven that way in a while.
Oh, that is a storage.
There's no parking around it at all?
Yeah, there's parking at the back.
It's full.
It's full? Okay, because I thought that was part of one of the reasons. Okay, and now that parking lot that is across the way, is that ours or whose is that?
Across the way. Which side?
Yep.
By the trains on the other side of the road.
That's municipal property.
So could he,
That is, oh,
could he
so no,
have
that,
them park?
that is municipal property. That was a lot of past discussion that we had when this all started. It'd be no different than parking over at the arena parking lot. They'd still have to be moved every 36 hours.
Yes, the same as in Zurich where the apartment people park.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a easier solution. They can park over there.
That was-
It's safer, it's lit.
It was a portion of the discussion when when he first actually applied for the shed.
The shed's full and that's where he was gonna be parking things.
Yeah, we should be very happy that we have a business getting quite busy. I hope we're not sending out there that the owner's watching and we're upset that he built and he's busy. Let's not get down this route.
Safety of the people dropping
Yeah.
vehicles off. Because it's dark in that corner, but.
If you were to go
In a parking lot there.
and look at the dates of previous motions that were like December 16th,
Yeah.
18th, 2023, all that was discussed back
Yeah.
at that point. It just didn't seem feasible.
Councillor Groot.
Oh, you're looking to make a motion?
Okay.
I was gonna say something. One second. Oh, I was gonna ask Dave a question. But, yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I didn't see your hand, sir. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So obviously I've been putting a fair bit of thought to it, and I appreciate your explanation as to historical what's happened, because you do sit back, someone who's not in the area all the time sits back and says, I don't even understand what we're trying to accommodate, but I understand completely now. So, but when looking at it, option one, the issuing of permits, I think is too far for the municipality to go. I think just option two, where you're saying permit overnight parking in a section, you know, anybody can park there. Sure, it'll probably be those vehicles for 99% of the time, but getting into permits and stuff, I think is just something that is going to have to require administration, a bunch of other stuff, and so I lean towards option two, even though one isn't on the table yet.
I'm looking for a motion. You're getting some lead here.
Yeah, and also, I just wanna state, and I don't know if I'm reading it incorrectly, Dave, or it's there on purpose. Does it state there that even though that business is permitted to park there, it still does not mean overnight?
Through you, your worship. So it would be the case that if it was council's wish, we would amend the bylaw to reflect whatever it is that council wishes to see there. Yeah, I mean, to the report, to speak to the report, none of these options are ideal. My recommendation was specifically as it's intended, because I would, to align with the parking bylaw as it exists today, would allow us better opportunity to perform snow removal, but, you know, in recognition of council's request for options, the options are available for consideration.
Are you prepared to make a motion for discussion?
Yes, I will move so the motion is here, actually. The council directs staff to amend the traffic parking bylaw. Overnight parking between the hours of 3 AM and 6 AM from November 15th to April 15th of each year on the west side of Wellington Street between King and Richmond Street South.
That's the whole street. Right? Not just dealing with the owner. I'm just clarifying because we're. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. All right. So that is no permits. Historically, this owner has kept basically from that post that we talk about south. But again, if he has one on the other side, that's
Correct. And it's, and in all honesty, come reconstruction time, it'll fall in line that we can decide when we put the parking spots in there, whether or not you can park there overnight or not.
okay. I'll support the motion on the grounds that we're gonna try something. If it's not working, we'll be back. But I think this goes a long way to start giving clarification to staff and to an owner. Go ahead.
So just for clarification purposes, and I'm not sure who I'm asking this question to, but a natural concern would be, and I still recall, and if I'm right, about 2 years ago, where there was an accusation of a plow hitting a piece of a vehicle. So my question is, what about derelict vehicles or vehicles that are sitting there for a time frame? There's nothing in here about a time frame, and that would be a concern, that if you got a vehicle sitting there for a length of time.
So through you, your worship, and to the content that's identified within the report, the vehicle has to be licensed, insured, and movable to align with the Highway Traffic Act as it is. It cannot be for storage of parts or things of that nature. Thank
And
you.
would also fall under the 36-hour rule.
Through you, your worship, yes, that's correct. Yes.
But good question. There'll be some details that are hammered out and with the owner, but the biggest picture here is we're moving on giving some direction to staff and to a business on this. That's what this is about. Okay, if there's no further discussion, are we prepared to move this motion and then see how it works? Okay, all those in favor of option 2, any opposed? Motion carries.
Through you, your worship, the other piece to that conversation that was identified that is also later on in the report as well, that identifies just to accommodate as part of the reconstruction design is on the screen just for council's consideration.
So move, Councilor Harris.
Okay, everyone's clear on that? All right. It's been moved and seconded. You got them? Okay. Bailey was the seconder, I believe. Okay. Okay, all those in favor of that motion? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving ahead. All right. We're now into 6.23 pothole prevention repair funding agreement.
Councilor Harris will move with question.
All those in favor?
Oh, I don't get a question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't go back and look, Dave, how much was the original amount requested?
It's the same as what
It was,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yes, and thanks staff for, again, they're looking to find any programs and this one came along and, very good. 6.24, and that's I think, for, I don't know if there's a recommendation there, but, it's for discussion, I thought. Information? Okay, yes, there is too. All right. Council direct staff with regards to the temporary maintenance fleet capacity. Any clarifications, one on that? I need to move in or seconder. Councilor Harris?
I will move again with question.
Yes, no problem. Sorry, I didn't catch that earlier. Deputy Mayor seconds.
You read number two?
One.
Number one, sorry. We're doing number one, the blue.
Okay.
No, just one.
That's fine.
Declare vehicles surplus and dispose of unit.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just have to ask Dave, and I totally understand, and I read the report twice. I just, help me understand how keeping a grader is the same as, keeping a grader is in replace of and helping you not have to replace another truck of a single axle plow truck.
So basically that grader is going to take place of that single axle. So we're going to get another grader this year. It was included as part of the budget. So then we'll have 3 graders. That grader then will sit in place of one of, not necessarily that truck specifically, but will take place of another vehicle in one of their routes that would then allow us to augment our fleet through the placement of that grader.
So there is a single plow truck right now that is doing back roads and stuff like that, that grader could, because you're not gonna put a grader on Richmond Street South in Hensel.
What we would likely do is put a tandem in place of the single axle. The current design that we are using for our single axles sees the front axle actually set back in the vehicle itself, and then the placement of the rear axles is actually tighter, so it affords us some opportunity, or it affords us the ability to maneuver that vehicle in a much greater fashion than some of the older fleet that we have. So as I said, we would probably go and replace it with that of and that's ultimately what we've been doing kind of right now, but we're doing it shorthandedly with our one of our tandems in place, and like I said, our grader would then probably take over one of our rural routes. Our additional grader would take over one of our rural routes that would have primarily gravel, again with obviously the understanding or acknowledgement that gravel roads do not get sanded and salted. So that it would lend itself more appropriately to that application.
Follow up. So the grader that we're hanging on to, and I know I didn't mention this to you before, but is that the grader that was broken down there 3 or 4 weeks ago? It was on one of the side roads. Might have been Bronson.
I apologize. I was not aware that one of our graders was down for it.
Trucks there. It was right off, maybe just off the par line. On
For-
a snowy day. There was
Yeah,
people
for any
working.
extended period of time. Again, I can't speak to whether it was down for any
Yeah,
extended
I just
period of
wondering
time.
if that one is being fixed and we're hanging onto it.
Yeah, so as I said, I'm not sure
Okay.
about that.
All right.
It is the case that it affords us the opportunity for a vehicle that we don't have currently.
Okay.
Is really the acknowledgement of it. Is it an ideal solution? No, because that vehicle was ultimately slated for disposal this year as well. Or sorry, I should say, our other grader was slated for disposal this year as well, but unfortunately, this was the hand that we were dealt, and these are the vehicles that we have at our disposal. It's not a great solution, but it is a solution.
Okay. We haven't moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. And then council direct staff to prepare a report on the current municipal fleet, including full fleet list and options for efficiency improvements or adjustments to fleet capacity. Is that a second motion? Councillor Bailey, Councillor Walden. I'm not, just as a clarification for me, we spend a lot of money having and they have to give all those reports to the government about our asset management. Why do we need this specifically? Isn't that already being done?
So through you, your worship, those are all done internally, just related to the fleet, like our fleet complement. So it would be ultimately to bring it back to council for council's understanding of what we have for our fleet, because ultimately through this right now, we're changing our fleet complement where we're having 3 graders as opposed to 2 graders, and we would be actually reducing our plows on the inverse side of it. So it's just basically looking at it, bringing it to council's attention, saying this is kind of the way that we see this taking shape for council's awareness and transparency and decision making for future rolling stock decisions.
Yep, and that's good. I just wanted to be clear that we weren't creating more work. I think you do a lot of this. You're just bringing it to our attention in a maybe formal manner.
Yep, through you,
Okay?
your worship. Yep, no, that
Okay.
is correct. It is something that this is one of the items that we have to, simply by virtue of the fact that they change over more frequently than almost any of our other assets, that we have to keep a fairly close eye on. So we are very attuned to our fleet inventory.
Yeah, it sounds, I'm not being clear. I just want to confirm we're not having to do extra work. Thank you very much. Okay, all those in favor of this motion, speaking of driving on, you get back to your work as staff. Okay, I think we're done. So we're gonna move to, not done the meeting, fire chief, fire protection grant amended TPA. There's the recommended bylaw. Everyone has read it. Is there ready for a mover? And if there's any clarifications, Counselor Lamport, second by Counselor Walden. Bylaw 826, bylaw to authorize municipality to enter a transfer agreement. King's Rights, fire protection grant. Any questions to? All okay then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Fire Chief. Corporate Services, strategic priorities update. And this again is for receive the report. A motion, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Counselor Bailey. Any questions on the report? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any against? Motion carries. Is there any counselors' announcements this evening? Sir Walden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Friday morning, I would say my wife coerced me into taking grandkids skating at Hensel. First time in 9 years, I was a little bit terrified that my artificial knee would fall. That ice was hard and beautiful and smooth. Hadn't been there since probably 15 years, taking my daughter skating. It's a beautiful old barn to skate in. I got in the dressing room. Lucky it wasn't the Habs dressing room. The floors, the mats, that we put money into there, and it looks really, really good. The staff was excellent, and had a good skate. Didn't quite kill myself. And when we got done, our manager of facilities, Maggie, came in with, I think you're there still, Maggie, off of 30 kids for I think it was a PD day count. The first one, and that was just amazing. So the facility was spotless. The mats, I know it took a while, looked really good. The ice was good. I liked the Boston Bruins dressing room, and just think that we're doing a good job with that spot. Thank you.
That's thank you for a good commercial. Counselor Harris, is there any counselor's announcements?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, the mayor and I had the opportunity of attending a forum at the Hensel Hall on Friday night. If you guys recall, I made a motion to the province about before and after childcare at the public schools here at Avon Maitland District School Board. There's been a committee that has been 100% full charge on the boards and the government. And I'm going to give you two aspects of what I got out of the meeting. One being Trees and Me at a Bayfield, which is a daycare center, have stepped up, and if they can get enough staff and the licensing and all the red tape that the province and board require, in line, they could provide before and after programs in 3 schools in the Avon Maitland District School Board. One being BCES in Hensel, the other being the Exeter Public School, and another being the Precious Blood School in Exeter. So if anybody knows any ECEs or childcare staff that are interested, please contact Trees and me. Her name is Hannah. She is desperately looking for qualified people. So if you have any young kids that want to get into childcare, please forward on to Hannah. Now, the unfortunate part is, and the question was asked that night, is to the board. And I had Avon Maitland and and the here in Perth Catholic Board there. If Hannah was not to succeed, they do not have a contingency plan at all. Haven't given it any thought. They're more than happy that Hannah came to them to provide this. If it was to fail, there's nothing in place, just so you know.
Thank you for that detailed meeting. Okay, anything else? If not, we had no new business in our agenda. So we're at confirmatory bylaw number 9-2026, February 2nd, 2026. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Harris, Councillor Lamport, all in favor. Any opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to adjourn, colleagues. Councillor Groot, Councillor Bailey, all those in favor. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank yous that are still listening in on Zoom, and for those that came tonight for to give moral support to our firefighters. All good. Hope you have a great